Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. You said you're tuning in from Norway? Okay. Well, that's good that you're tuning in from Norway. We're going to get started here. Hey to all of my mods. Hey to Jewel. I see Sabrina Lee in here. I'm going to give y'all a minute to come in. I'm going to go on mute. I'm going to give people a minute to come in, and then I'm going to start in just a couple minutes. Hey everyone. Hey Divine, it's good to see you here. Hey, just saying, we're here. And okay, so listen, let's just get to it because we already know what we're here for. Y'all already know that we are here largely to discuss this situation and this problem that is Umar Johnson. But we're not just here to talk about Umar Johnson. We're actually here to talk about a much larger problem in the community called absentee fatherism. Umar Johnson plays into this because Umar Johnson is one of the many people who have spoken out against the epidemic of absentee fathers in the Black community. So we don't need to debate whether there is an issue with absentee fathers. We know that there is an issue with absentee fathers. Is it only an issue in the Black community? No, but it is most prevalent in the Black community. The Black community, as we know, has long been criticized and pathologized for its epidemic of absentee fathers. We all know this. We know that every single news station has talked about the absentee fathers in the Black community. We know there was a report that was created addressing the issues in the Black community, one of them being absentee fathers, which was the Moynihan report. And we know that many so-called Black scholars have addressed the issue of absentee fathers in the Black community because it is so prevalent, because it is so pervasive in the Black community. It has been extensively discussed by people like Umar Johnson. The Black community has long been criticized and pathologized for the issue of absentee fathers. While the Black community will blame Black women for absentee fathers, the rest of society understands that the only people who are able to be blamed for the absentee father epidemic are the ones perpetuating it, which is the absentee fathers. We've heard a wide array of excuses in the Black community about absentee fathers. We've heard about white supremacy. We've heard about welfare extracting Black men from the home. We've heard about Black women choosing welfare over having fathers in their home. This is something that Umar Johnson himself has said. And we know that he hasn't spoken about absentee fathers once. We know he talks about absentee fathers quite a bit. He also acknowledges that this is one of the biggest issues in the Black community is single mother-headed homes. But what no one wants to acknowledge in the Black community is that Black men, these Black fathers, are the ones who are perpetuating the absentee father epidemic in the Black community. They are literally causing the absentee father issue in the Black community. But rather than take accountability, they've blamed Black women. They've blamed the system. They've blamed welfare. They blamed the white man. They've blamed everything that they could except the white woman. And we already know why they didn't blame the white woman, because then they would have to justify why their preferences has done so much destruction to the community. The issue of absentee fathers in the Black community has been discussed many times on many different platforms. And as many of you know, a few years ago, I had the opportunity to discuss the issue of absentee fathers on Fox Soul with Umar Johnson, who is also known for speaking against absentee fathers and who is now facing his own backlash after his own daughter came out exposing him for being an absentee father. But the panel was discussing, though, whether or not there was a war on Black men. This is what the panel was discussing. You guys already know my thoughts on the war on Black men. I was a part of this panel, and I was adamant that there is no external war being waged on the Black community, and I still believe that. While I do not believe that there is a war being waged on Black men by an external source, I do believe that there is a war being waged against the Black community. The war is waged by Black men, and one of the primary weapons they use is abandonment. We already know there's a whole host of issues that presents in males and females when they have an absentee father. The issues are not being caused by the single mother. They are being caused by the fathers who refuse to take care of their children. Now, Black men will tell you that someone is extracting them from their home, but what Umar Johnson failed to tell anybody on this panel discussion is who took him out of the home. Who is to blame for Umar Johnson not providing for, being in the life of, or pouring into his own daughter that many of us didn't even know he had? The reason we have yet another contradiction is because we hold Black men absolutely to zero standards. The Black community gives Black men a pass to abandon their children. Even though Black women complain about Black men abandoning their children, we still help to give them a pass in abandoning their children. They also have a legal pass to abandon their children as well. Per the research that I did, there has yet to be one man, regardless to race, who has been prosecuted for abandoning his children. There has been numerous women who have been. I feel the need to point that out because I think it's quite clear that we live in a system of injustice towards women. One of the injustices perpetuated on women is burdening them with the oppression of single motherhood. Even though Umar Johnson has spoken out about oppression numerous different times, he has still subjected at least one black woman that we know of to the oppression of single motherhood. But I want to play a little clip for y'all. I want to play a clip because I don't want to lie on Umar Johnson. I don't want to do that. So we're going to look at Umar Johnson's own words. This is when we were on Fox Soul discussing, and I want y'all to look at this clip here as we listen to Umar Johnson explain what he thinks is important in the community and what he believes is the cause of the absentee father epidemic. Let's get into it.
Are a black man. Why should I care about a war being waged against you?
If you care about the future of black people, then you naturally have to care about the destiny of black men. When you look at most of the pathology in the black community today, from black on black crime, to single female-headed households, to poor academic outcomes, to unemployment, much of that is due to the war against black men. So if we want to survive and thrive as a black family and as a black community, we have to implement solutions for black men.
Now, I want to leave it there because as you were listening to Umar Johnson talk about how important it is to invest in the destiny of black men, you heard him say everything from crime in the black community to mother-headed homes, to single mother-headed homes, it is due to the war on black men. Now, perhaps Umar Johnson got caught in that war. He didn't tell us at all, because when he was on Fox Soul, he also did not tell us that he even had a child. We didn't even know that Umar had a child, but now that we know he had the child, we know that he has abandoned said child. Why are we saying that Umar Johnson abandoned said child? Well, because Umar Johnson has admitted to abandoning said child. We will not lie on Umar Johnson, but what we will do is we will play his words to you. Umar Johnson has paraded around as if he was a man with no children. That's why I say most of us didn't even know that Umar Johnson had a kid. We didn't even know he had a kid. I didn't know he had a kid. Put a 1 in the chat box if you knew Umar Johnson had one child. I did not know he had one child. Now, if you were to ask me on this same panel, was there a war on black men? Then you would understand that there absolutely isn't a war on black men, except for the one that black men are waging against the community on their own. I tried to bring a sense of accountability here, because the reality is the only way that we can fix the issues in the black community is to acknowledge that we have them. That means we have to also acknowledge that black men are choosing to walk out on their children. They are not being extracted from their home. We have to acknowledge that with Umar Johnson as well. And we also have to ask ourselves, how insidious is it for a man to act as though he centers the black family, but then he's chosen to partially create one himself and then abandon the children? That's what this man has chosen to do. Is he the only person who has chosen to do this? No. There are multiple black men who were held up as leaders, who were revered, who did the same thing. Roz Moy said there's no war on black men. These lame ninjas are the one waging war on the black woman and child. They are. And they refuse to take any accountability for it. They won't take any accountability for it. Now, someone's saying 3 kids, 3 baby mamas. I don't know that to be true or not, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the number alone. But what we do know is that one has come out, and she has been adamant that Umar Johnson has not been present for a day in her life. Not a single day. Not one single day, and this is a problem. Because even if you only had one child, I would think this would be the child that Umar would be parading around. I would think this child would be Umar's progeny. She would be his predecessor. I would think that Umar Johnson would actually be bringing her on tours with him, setting her up to continue on with his legacy. And unless he just don't want to because she's a female. I'll say it again. Sorry y'all, those are my shutters over there. Let me go ahead and shut them so that they're not flying open, and we'll get back to it. Hold on, y'all. Absolutely not. Thank you. Okay, we're back. Now, here's the thing. I didn't know that Umar had a child. I know many of you didn't either. I really didn't. I didn't know he had one. I believe that there's multiple so-called black leaders who believe that they are untouchable. I didn't realize I muted myself, but what I'm saying is that even if the whole entire community was aware that Umar Johnson had a child, they would still blame a black woman for the abandonment. This is why we haven't progressed at all. This is why this issue has continued to perpetuate, because we refuse to put the onus on who the onus belongs to. We can sit up here and we can look at this big issue that we have in the community, this issue that notably and documentedly is causing a lot of problems in the community. We can do that, but we won't be able to solve the problem. We will not be able to solve the problem unless we first acknowledge who is perpetuating it. Now, I already know, and many of you already know, that there is no external war being waged against black men. They failed to substantiate that. But what I believe is that black men are actually waging a war. They are actually waging the war. I want to play you a clip from what I said on this very show in terms of whether there's a war being waged against black men. See, because I'm willing to tell the truth. I'm willing to acknowledge the issues in our community. Yes, we do have systemic racism to atone with, but is it causing all of the problems? No. It's not causing all of the problems. Black men are causing the vast majority of the problems in the black community, and we fail to acknowledge that. So I want to play for you guys what I said here, because this is my stance, and it will continue to be my stance. No one is putting black men out of their homes. We already called welfare. Welfare has denied these allegations. Let's continue.
Families, that is on black men. Nobody's forcing black men to walk away from their children. Nobody's forcing black men to murder black women every 5.5 hours. Nobody's forcing black men to abandon their children, publicly display how they don't like or care about their children. No one's forcing black men to do anything. And I think it's a great disservice to pretend that someone is forcing black men to do things rather than to put the accountability where it needs to be, which is black men. If they have an issue with the system, they should have addressed it a long time ago. You don't get to complain that you don't have any power in a system that you didn't fight to have power in. You fought for assimilation. You did not fight for equality. That is on you. I think we're making excuses at this point.
We are absolutely making excuses at this point. At this point, we really are making excuses. We're making excuses. There isn't one single person taking black men out of the home. But this is black men's excuse, and this is why the absenteeism continue. This is why generation after generation of black women suffer the same fate as the women before them, and this fate is being trapped in the oppression of single motherhood. Single motherhood is oppression, and it is purposeful oppression that black men are subjecting black women to. They have a history of doing this, and they're still doing it because it's easy to walk out on your family. It's easy to walk out on some children than it is to engage in the burden, the responsibility of raising them. It's difficult to raise children. And instead of black men just admit that, one, we're too immature to be fathers. Number two, it's difficult being a father. Number three, we don't even know how to be a father because we've never had a father. Even growing up ourselves, we didn't even have our fathers. There is a generational cycle being perpetuated here, and rather than help to break that cycle, rather than help to actually create stable black families, rather than actually work towards doing the right thing in the community, being different than the status quo, taking another road, Umar Johnson has decided to engage in the exact same behavior and pretend as if he's not doing it. And what he does is he will wrap it in calling you queens. He will wrap it in appearing to uplift you, but in reality, all he's doing is grooming you seemingly to be another baby mama, possibly of his. Because again, he stands on the business before backshots principle. That's the one he stands on. Business before backshots. He said it out of his own mouth, apparently. But what Umar Johnson will do is he will blame black women. He'll blame black women. He has blamed black women for a number of different things, and that's because he does not like black women. I don't think he likes black women. And I think this largely accounts for why it was so easy for him to abandon his daughter and really, quite frankly, pretend that he doesn't even have one. Because the only thing that Umar Johnson really cares about as it pertains to black women is their willingness to line his pockets. It is black women's unwillingness to hold Umar accountable to creating the school that it's taken, it seems like, going on upwards of 20 years for him to complete, and he still has not successfully completed this damn school, y'all. He hasn't. School still ain't been built. Black women are still throwing money at him to build a school, though. That is what Umar Johnson likes about you as a black woman. The same thing that most black men like about black women, the ease at which they can use and exploit them. Because what black women are not going to do is ask black men to prove anything, ask them to be accountable for anything. We'll listen to what black men say as if it's gospel. That's how we got here with Umar Johnson being worshipped the way that he is being worshipped. If this man is running around calling himself the Messiah, calling himself the chosen one, then he is doing so because that is the pedestal that the black community set him on. And when I say the black community, I mean black women. And we already know this is something that we have done as black women. As black women, we accept black men who get in front of a camera and get in front of a microphone and spew out lies. We accept the lies because they are coming out of the mouths of black men. Have Umar Johnson fed us 100% lies? No, but that's what's so insidious about deception. Because in order to effectively deceive, you have to tell the truth. Yes, you're going to mix it with lies. It can be half truth, but it's truth nonetheless. It is the truth nonetheless. That is why deception works so well. It's because part of it is the truth. So when Umar Johnson talks about issues in the black community, is he lying about those issues? No, he's not lying, because those are real issues. It is a real issue that black men are waging a war of femicide against black women. It is the truth that the community is plagued with violence. It is the truth that we are dealing with systemic racism. It is the truth. That 100% is the truth. The lie is that it's impeding our ability to transcend the problems of the community. That's not what's impeding our ability. What's impeding our ability to transcend the issues in the black community is our unwillingness to tell the truth. It's our unwillingness to stand on the side of what's right rather than standing on the side of a public figure that we worship. That's the problem. The problem is, if we like someone, if we've elevated them to a pedestal, we will let them stay there no matter how much or how undeserving they are. We seek to keep them on the pedestal, even though we know they're not living in accordance to we know that they're not living in accordance to what they talk about. We know that. Even when we know that they've engaged in deplorable actions, we still keep them on the pedestal that we put them on. We still do this. We still do it. What we have failed to realize, or that we're ignoring, we don't want to realize, we don't want to understand, we ain't gonna understand, is that the truth really will set us free. And the truth is that more so than the system, black men specifically are waging a war on the black community. And what they are doing, while they simultaneously wage this war on the black community, they're blaming black women. And one of the things that Umar Johnson did is sit up here and blame black women for the condition of the black community, because he doesn't really like black women, but he understands that if he just calls black women queens, then he can say whatever derogatory statements about them. He can uplift snow bunnies. He can switch up his narrative all he wants to, but he's still calling you queens. So let's go over yet another contradictory moment of Umar Johnson as he blames black women, not the system, for the issues in the community on the same panel that he blamed the system. Let's listen to it.
Well, I do not endorse any kind of a second-class citizenship role for black women. I believe black women have as much to offer as do black men, so I'm not sure who the queen is referring to, because I am not a misogynist and I do not support that type of narrative that said the black woman's position is only to have children and to prepare food. But at the same time, I think black women have to look at themselves, because although white supremacy has been the greatest enemy of the progress of black men, you would also have to argue that black women have probably been the greatest accomplice to supporting the white power structure in their destruction of black males, i.e. the conversation we're having right now, where two intelligent black women have yet to, not sure who the queen is referring to, because I am not a misogynist and I do not support that type of narrative that said the black woman's position is only to have children and to prepare food. But at the same time, I think black women have to look at themselves, because although white supremacy has been the greatest enemy of the progress of black men, you would also have to argue that black women have probably been the greatest accomplice to supporting the white power structure to have children and to prepare food. But at the same
So when we come back,
structure in their destruction. Women
So-
have to look at themselves, because although white supremacy has been the greatest enemy of the progress of black men, you would also have to argue that black women have probably been the greatest accomplice to supporting the white power structure in their destruction of black males, i.e. the conversation we're having right now.
So Umar Johnson can say that black women are the greatest accomplice to white supremacy's war against black men, because we're talking about the problems that black men actually perpetuate. But he does not see himself as part of the problem, even though he's perpetuating a cycle of absentee fatherism in the black community that 100% aids in the white supremacist power structure or any war that they would have waged against black men. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. So does it surprise me that now we're dealing with Umar Johnson, who Umar Johnson himself actually stated out of his own mouth that he wasn't there for his daughter. Yet a lot of people seem to want to have a certain opinion here, bring up conspiracy theories, talk about clout chasing, talk about CIA plots. Even though Umar Johnson said out of his own mouth that he wasn't there for his daughter. Let's listen to it.
I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love, because you never validated me as a woman. You feel me? If you can't find good black love because you never validated me as a woman. I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love, because you never validated me as a woman. I wasn't there for my daughter. 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 And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love, because you never validated me as a woman. I wasn't there for my daughter. I wasn't there for my daughter. I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love, because you never validated me as a woman. I wasn't there for my daughter.
Does anybody know who took Umar Johnson out of the home? I need to know. I have to know. I have to know. I just want to know who extracted this man from his home, because surely someone has done it. Surely someone has done it. Now, the reason I had to play that on the loop like that, because no accountability is being given to this man who literally predicted that he would be exposed because he wasn't here for his daughter. And then he gets to come out and try to bully said daughter, and the black community just doesn't care. The black community joins him in trying to bully a daughter that he said that he wasn't there for. That's what we doing?
I wasn't there for my daughter. 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 And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love because you never validated me as a woman. I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day, I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day, I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day, I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love because you never validated me as a woman.
I just want y'all to understand that. Like, I don't understand this. Like, I know I look like I'm about to laugh, but the only reason why it's humor is I don't understand this. Like, y'all, I don't understand. How do you say this?
I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day, I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day.
How do you go from saying this in a video to now someone's clout chasing you? To now they done used we don't know who to get to you? How do you go from that? I honestly, I don't understand. I don't understand. I need somebody to like make this make sense for me. You made a prediction. You said that you weren't there for your daughter. But now you're bringing up a CIA conspiracy theory against the chosen one that you call yourself. Now you feel as though you can lump this on a CIA conspiracy theory when you've already came out and predicted this, knowing that you had already said.
I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love because you never validated me as a woman. I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love because you never validated me as a woman.
I need to understand it. That all I'm just trying to say is somebody make it make sense to me. Anybody make it. I need to know that, like, I'm not understanding. I don't understand it. I don't. I'm just trying to figure out. I'm just trying to figure out what we got going on here. Why do we have a man who has predicted that he will be exposed now coming out saying that someone is clout chasing him after a money grab, CIA conspiracy, they trying to bring down the chosen one? We shouldn't be hearing anything but accountability as far as I'm concerned. We should not hear anything but accountability. Why is Umar Johnson not taking the accountability that he says that black women run from? Because it's really easy for people to say, well, you know, black women don't want to take accountability for everything, for anything. Okay, that's fine. Nobody really wants to take accountability. Humans don't want to take accountability because at the end of the day, accountability means you are wrong. So no one wants to take accountability. Umar Johnson being one of them who wants to run from accountability. He doesn't want to have to tell you why he sat up here and pretended to be about black families, but created a broken one. He doesn't want to tell you why, when he had the opportunity to stand on business and create a functional black family, he instead chose to create a broken one. No one told Umar Johnson that he could not marry the woman that he impregnated. No one said that to him. And if you deemed her to be unworthy of marriage after you impregnated her, that doesn't speak to her as a woman. It speaks to your ability to have discernment over what is a woman worthy of you marrying versus one that you deem to only be worthy of single motherhood, which is what you bestowed on this woman. Umar Johnson don't want to tell you, he doesn't want to have to tell you why he engaged in this behavior. He doesn't want to. So instead, he continues to pass the blame. He continues to try to control a narrative based on lies rather than just coming out and saying, hey, I made a mistake and I told y'all whenever the date of that video was, I made a mistake. I had already confessed to y'all.
I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day. I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day.
Why can't you just come out and lead with this, Umar? Why wouldn't he just come out and lead with this video and say, hey, I've already came out and told y'all that I have a daughter that I was not there for? Now, as you know, Umar Johnson has been exposed by his daughter. Her name is Anisa. And she is going to come here and tell her side of the story, because right now, rather than just admit, apologize, and repair and work on a relationship, Umar just wants to bully her. Like, this is his response to her. His response is to bully her. His response is to call his daughter a clout chaser. His response is to say his daughter is there for a money grab, as if he does not owe her money. Even if she's there for a money grab, that's what you owe her. You don't get to create a child and then not provide for said child and then sit up here and say that your child is after a money grab. I'm trying to figure out what type of psychologist does that. This is a psychologist here who's mishandling his own daughter. Because we can ignore, we can completely just skip past entirely Umar's race. We can discard his race. Let's talk about his profession. He said he's a psychologist. He works primarily with children. This is no way that you would handle anybody's child, let alone your own, and one that you admitted to not even being there for. I'm not here to check to see whether somebody has degrees or not. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not, whether Umar Johnson actually had the degree is not for me to look into, because I'm not trying to employ Umar. So whether he has a degree or a license, that would be for y'all to check if y'all are the ones who are donating to him, who believes in his practice, and who thinks that he's going to uplift the black community. It's for y'all to check his qualifications. But I think if y'all were concerned about him being qualified, that should have been asked way before you sent some money. Like, I wouldn't be, and I'm not saying that you offered this person money. I'm not saying that you offered that you sent money to Umar. You may not have. But if I was going to donate to him under the premise that he, as the school psychologist or former school psychologist, was going to build a school for black children, oh, but then it ain't for black children. It's for black boys. Because I thought Umar Johnson said his school was for black boys. I don't think black girls were a part of the school. I don't know, y'all let me know, but I don't think the chosen one was making a school that was going to have black daughters in it. I don't think they were. But if I was going to contribute, then I would probably be checking his credentials before. Maxine said big back pineapple head. I mean, listen, jokes aside, this is actually like a huge issue in the black community. Jokes aside. Anisa is here. She is just running a little bit late. And soon as she gets here, then she will be up here to tell her side because she is here to do so. The black woman in I don't know who that is. Umar, the modern day Robin Hood. He steals black women's donations in order to fight supremacy. Let's just be real that there isn't really a black man in the community trying to fight against any form of supremacy. They would be perpetuating it first. They would end up perpetuating it first, likely. No credentials in the world could convince me to hand him nothing. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think that if people were going to donate to him, they should have made sure there was a way to hold him accountable to what was being donated. That's actually what I think. Because I wouldn't just send out loads of money to someone saying that they're building a school and then they never actually build the school. Like I wouldn't, that wouldn't be anything that I would do. It wouldn't be. Hey, Anisa, are you there? Okay, I'll give her some time to maybe connect to the audio and then we'll start. But yeah, I would not give my money out, and I haven't checked to see if someone was actually going to do what they were saying that they were going to do. Like there should have been a group of people to track the progress of this and bring some accountability to this. There should have been someone to do this. Hey, Anisa.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Can you see me?
No, it's just a black screen.
Okay.
I know sometimes StreamYards do get really glitchy, but we'll work with it.
Okay.
But in this time, if you want, while you work on getting yourself on camera, if you want to introduce yourself, you absolutely can. The floor is yours. The floor is yours. So definitely use it as you need to.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Anisa. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Philadelphia. And as far as a little bit about myself, I consider myself to be a content creator slash comedian. I make content on Instagram and TikTok. Aside from that, I actually want to get into Education. I'm working to become an RBT, which are people that work with kids that have autism. So I'm very excited about that. And I definitely look forward to going back to school. After graduating high school, I did attend Roxborough University. I'm sorry, I attended Temple University. Roxborough was the high school that I went to. I attended Temple for one semester. I went for film and media arts, which was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I did attend college during COVID, so I wasn't able to be on campus. So I did stop going to school, but I do plan on going back. So that's just a little about myself.
Yes. What made you want to do content? Because as a content creator, it's definitely it's a lot more to it than they try to let on.
Yeah, so it's funny. I've always had like a very vibrant personality. If you got to know me in person, you would probably say the same. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I love being in front of the camera. It always came natural to me. I started YouTube at 13 years old. So I've always pretty much loved making videos and being in front of the camera. Like it always just came so natural to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good that you wanted to get into content. And I saw some of your other videos where you were trying to do content as well. And I actually think that's good. I definitely think that you have the personality for it. And I think that really, being that your father is who he is, you really, it shouldn't be an issue of someone's clout chasing, because I feel like we should know who you are. I feel like
Mhm.
we should have been introduced to you a long time ago. And it's like I said before you came here, as far as I'm concerned, Umar should have been taking you on his speaking engagements with him to try and train you to be able to follow on his legacy, to follow through his legacy. But that wasn't an opportunity that was given to you. Instead, you were deprived of being able to be raised by your biological father, and now that you've come public, now you're being what I call bullied by your father. So I wanted to ask, how are you doing mentally? Because I know for me that wouldn't be easy to deal with. Like it wouldn't be easy for me to deal with, regardless to whether he was there or not. This is your father.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about everything that's going on?
I don't agree with the response that he gave to me, as well as the response that he gave to my mother. I don't know if you recall, but he called, he said Mama Smurf and daughter Smurf. I don't really think that that was appropriate. If anything, what I would have respected out of him is if he would have came to social media and said, you know what, I was not in your life, I wasn't present, but moving forward, I want to make a change, I want to make an adjustment. But instead, I feel like he probably did respond out of hurt, but at the same time, it's like you're my dad, so I kind of expected more out of you. As far as mentally, I do have a great support system. I do take a step away from social media from time to time because it is a lot of negativity. It is a lot of bashing, um, and you can only do but so much. And at the end of the day, I know who I am, and I have strong skin. Thank God. Like I've gone viral other times, so I kind of know how to handle it. But mentally, I just try to take a step away from it. I think that's good for everyone to just take a
Yeah.
step away, regroup, and yeah.
So let me ask you this question, because absentee fatherism, because I know you said you were raised by your stepfather, which is actually really good that you are actually able to have a stepfather. I don't know that many people do. I would suspect that they don't, because of the dynamic in our community. If black men don't even want to raise their own children, I'm not going to sit here and think that they're going to want to raise someone else's children. They're very adamant that they don't. So
Mhm.
what do you think about the fact that you have this fatherless epidemic within the community that has literally been talked about by nearly every single agency in this country, starting from since black people left the plantation? These things have been tracked. What do you think about the fact that your dad is one of the loudest voices actually against absentee fatherism? He's very adamantly he stands very adamantly on black men accountability and them needing to take accountability, them needing to be in the home. Like I said,
Mhm.
when we were on the Fox Soul, when we were on the Fox Soul discussion, he said that single mother led homes were one of the biggest issues in the black community, and it was the product of a war being waged on black men. Yet this is a man who also chose to walk out on his family. Because I have two questions. Did your mother, or do you know, because his narrative is that your mother kept him away from you. This is the narrative in the community. So
Mhm.
I first wanted to just ask, what, if anything, what do you know about why he wasn't in your life?
So, him and my mom used to co-parent in the very beginning, but after a while, he stopped picking me up. So my mom had to make police reports to document this to the courts so that they knew, hey, I came to this location. He was not there. I did my part. So, um, like I said, in the beginning, he was there, but then he stopped coming to get me. So my mom was pretty much the sole caretaker of me. What was the question again,
How
Cynthia?
how old were you when he stopped visiting
I was
and
very
seeing you?
young. If I had to take a guess, I want to say maybe like 10 or somewhere under there. I was very young.
Yeah, it sounds like around one of the most critical times in your life, because when you're 10, you're starting to go into the preteens, you're starting to understand and develop your own identity. So this was a very critical time, especially for girls when they get into the beginning stages of hitting puberty, needing to understand, I'm attracted to these males or even females over here. Nonetheless, sexual identity is developing. They need that guidance from their father. And it sounds like that was the primary time that he decided to leave. Given that he was there in a certain capacity when you were younger and then stopped, what was the impact when he stopped coming around? And what did you learn about why he stopped coming around?
So because I was so young, there was only so much I could do. When I was around my dad, he tried to tell me that my mom tried to keep me away from him, which was a lie. He also made another statement, not to go on a tangent, but he stated that the two mothers of his children wanted to marry him, which I don't know my sister's
Okay, hold
brothers.
on. We gotta double back to two mothers.
Yes, he has two children.
Oh, okay, but two different women.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry, that threw me a little bit.
Um, so he actually claimed that they wanted to marry him. My mother never wanted to marry him. I just wanted to make that clear. But yes, he tried to tell me that my mom tried to keep me away from him, which was a lie. He stopped coming to get me. So that was on him. They had a court order, he didn't follow it, and so that was pretty much the end of that. So he didn't hold up his responsibility. That was on him.
Why didn't he want to marry your mother? Because I would think that with this, because he's saying this too. Like I don't know if you saw. I'll show you, because this is exactly what Umar is actually saying
Mhm.
himself. He is going with the narrative that your mother kept him away from you, which is the narrative that black men always resort to. It's the primary one. She kept me away from my kid. Okay, fine. Even with a court order, she's doing it, and you're doing nothing in response. So in this, he is saying that as well. He's saying that, and he actually comes down here specifically, and he said, Mama Smurf has been lying to Baby Smurf her entire life. I was excluded from your life despite multiple family court or shared custody orders because I didn't marry your mother. You will be with both of us or neither one of us. That is the whole truth, all of the truth, and nothing but the truth. So this was Umar's latest response. And he definitely is blaming your mother and outright saying actually that your mother, and because she was so bitter because he wouldn't marry her, she decided that she would violate multiple court orders and just keep him away from you.
Mhm.
Did
Um,
you see that post that we just went over?
yes.
What do you think about him asserting that your mother and putting this out publicly after he got in the video and already admitted that he wasn't there for you?
So, being that he's such a public figure, I think that he needs to be careful about the information that he's putting out, because for you to get on the internet and make lies and claims and allegations that are not true is kind of beyond me. I don't understand why my mom would want to marry a man that put his hands on her. Um, he also claimed that I guess my stepfather was the one that put his hands on her, which that was never true. But he was domestic towards my mother, but my mom never wanted to marry him. That's a complete lie. I don't know about the other baby mom or whatever, but my mom never wanted to marry him ever. That's a lie.
Did he say why he wouldn't marry your mother? Because here's the thing. I would think well, a man like Umar, I would think if he's parading around promoting black queens, black men should only be with black women, we need to build stable black families, the black man needs to be the head of the home. It sounds like he had an opportunity to be that head of the home because he's acknowledging that your mother wanted to marry him. Okay, that's fine. He,
Hmm.
from his perspective, your mother wanted to marry him, but he chose not to. He had an opportunity to create a stable black family and he chose not to. Did he ever give you an explanation as to why he did not marry your mother?
No, because I was only in contact with him at such a young age, so I wouldn't even have been able to comprehend what was going on.
And your mother said she didn't want to marry him, so obviously she wouldn't. And of course, if he was abusive, you shouldn't marry your abuser. So abuse and not marrying, best decision she could have made. But I find it interesting that this man is talking about stable black families, had multiple opportunities to create one, it sounds like, and each time he decided that he would just create a broken home, that he wouldn't raise his daughter, because he literally came out, and I don't know, did you see the video where he was admitting to, have you saw that video?
Admitting to what?
Where he's admitting to not being there for you.
Yes.
So what do you think about his response, given that there's a video? There's a video of him basically predicting this. Then you come out and do what he's predicted. And then in response to you doing what he predicted, he goes on a bullying media campaign, mishandling you completely because you are his child. So there's a way that a psychologist should be handling his own child. There's a way a decent
Exactly.
man should be handling his own child. But he's mishandling you, quite frankly, to me, putting your mother, dog whistling to put your mother in harm's way with this trope that, she kept me away from this daughter, turned this daughter against me. Now this daughter is coming out exposing me. But he already predicted this. So what do you think about the fact that he has a video out here where he predicted this, but he is now calling you a clout chaser and putting your mother in harm's way in response to it?
I just think that it makes him appear more as a fraud and a hypocrite. You can't get on social media and say one thing, but you're doing the complete opposite. I will never take away from Dr. Umar's work. I think he's very smart, very intellectual. I think a lot of people would say the same. Very smart man. I've watched multiple interviews that he has done on the Breakfast Club and on other platforms. So I'll never take away from who he is and his work. But if I looked up to somebody who did, a certain line of work, especially psychology, and they aren't in their own children's lives, it's kind of like, well, how are you advocating for this, but you're going completely against it? It doesn't make any sense. But I'll
Yeah.
never take away from his work.
Yeah. This to me is just completely not the way. To be honest, I would have expected Umar to handle this situation differently. I would have expected him to pull it off of an online platform and do it behind closed doors. That's what I would have expected. Even given Umar's self-aggrandizement, even given his arrogance, because he did say he is a doctor of psychology who primarily works with children, I would have expected him not to bully his own daughter publicly in response to this, because at the end of the day, he said he was not there for you. He said
Mhm.
that you were going to expose him because he didn't pour into you the way that he was supposed to. So then to come and attack you in response to you doing what he predicted, to me is complete trash and is complete mishandling. And to me, it actually shows 100% his character. But the reality is the black community doesn't hold black men to any character standards. There's none. Not even the ones we call leaders. So instead of the black community rallying behind you and saying, Umar, this is your child. You've acknowledged this is your child. Take your family grievance off the internet and
Mm-hmm.
deal with it privately. But he chose not to do that. And instead have called you a clout chaser, and instead have decided to say that you are after a money grab. And a lot of people are saying the same thing. They're questioning your motives for exposing him and are saying things like, well, why did you wait until now? Do you mind speaking a little bit about your motives for exposing him and why you came out now? Because apparently, whatever you said in the past, they missed that memo. I know what you said. I know what you said was the reason you came forward. It was very understandable to me. But people are
Mm-hmm.
still saying you're a clout chaser. You're hired by the CIA. Why now did you choose to expose him?
So the only reason why I brought it to social media was because I tried to reach out to him regarding my sister and he ignored me. I did make a video of originally on TikTok and Instagram. My TikTok did get taken down, but in the video I did state that I'm not trying to bash him and that the main motive and reason for me making that video was to try to find my sister, which I did. So I literally found her within a day. Her mother reached out to me and I am now in contact with her. So I did want a conversation out of him, which I did not get. I don't know if you guys recall, but me and him was supposed to meet up somewhere on Thursday to have a conversation, but that didn't happen because he continued to ignore me. So I just kind of let it go.
Wow. So your goal wasn't to come for a money grab, which by the way, I'm gonna say this because it really needs to be said. I don't think you can be a clout chaser of a man who has an obligation to you. There is no clout chasing of your father. So this is an immature stance to begin with. This man, even though admitting that you're his daughter, even though he's blaming it on your mother, he's showing a detachment to you. He's showing literally a complete disregard. Why are
Mhm.
you calling your daughter a clout chaser? Why are you saying she's after a money grab as if you don't have a financial obligation to your child? This is a man who neglected you for, it sounds like, 12 year span, because you said he stopped coming around when you were 10, so that would be 12 years, then you would then be 22. So this man has completely chosen to make himself absent, a non-factor in your life for a span of 12 years, and then wants to call you a clout chaser as if he doesn't have an obligation to you to begin with. It's like,
Exactly.
this is your obligation. When did you first learn that you had other sisters by Umar?
So my mom told me that the mother of my sister actually came to our old house, and I don't know why she was trying to get in contact with my mom, but that was when I had found out, like, oh wow, I have another sibling. And I have actually been told that he has 3 to 4 other children, but I'm not going to continue to say that because from my knowledge he only has another daughter. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. How did it make you feel when you get older? You learn that, okay, your father just decided he didn't want to come around at a critical point in time, and then you learn that he has multiple other children, because this is something that's actually going around now a lot. A lot. Like, there's a lot of talk. He have 3 different baby mamas. Some people are saying he has 4 to 5 children. To me, all of that is alleged. We already know he has you because he admitted it. We know he has at least 2, because in that same video clip, he did acknowledge having a teenage daughter and one that he said is 22. So clearly he was talking about you. How does it make you feel when you learn that your father, who abandoned you, now has more children that he has robbed you of the ability to even grow up in proximity to because you had no knowledge of them?
So I'm not sure if he was in her life, but to my knowledge, I am the oldest. And it kind of sucks because it's like, okay, you didn't take care of me, but you could have at least been there for her because she's younger than me, you know? So it's honestly kind of disappointing to say the
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
I know I personally would be pissed off if it was me. I would right off I would 100 be pissed off, because here's the thing with your situation, and it should have done this for a number of different people. It should have been triggering to a number of different people who dealt with their father not being there and dealt with the negative consequences of that, because my issues did not come from my mother raising me. If I
Right.
had issues with men, it was because of my father. That it was
Hmm.
because of what he showed me by not being there, and what he showed me when he was around, the temporary time that he was around. But with
Hmm.
anybody, they should be triggered by this.
Right.
Like, I would be I would be livid. And I don't understand how people are looking at you and regarding you as if you should just say, my father wasn't there. Okay, that's fine. That's normal. End of story. No, this is a man, this is half of her DNA who
Exactly.
abandoned her. This is half of your DNA who abandoned you. Then you have siblings out there. You don't have an opportunity to talk to your siblings, and then you go to your father, who should have told you about these siblings to begin with, and then it's like a brick wall. You can't even get through to him. And it's like, to me, I feel like no one's really, like, very few people are actually thinking about how you feel about this, because they're clouded by Umar Johnson, the persona, Umar Johnson, the black leader, Umar Johnson, the person that we put on this pedestal to where he's calling himself the Messiah. But you are his child, and there was emotional damage done, and that's being ignored, because you obviously have to feel some type of way. Was your mother aware of these other children, and is that how you learned that you have multiple other children, multiple other siblings, and other than the first one that you just thought you had?
So the only reason why I found out I had, or the only reason how I found out I had another sister, was because she said the mother came to our house. But other than that, to my knowledge, I don't have any other siblings from what I know.
Did the mother just come to your house trying to find, like, the siblings of her children, or what was she like? How did that happen where she just showed up at your house?
So my mom told me, I guess she must have looked it up because addresses are public information, and my mom did own that house at the time. But my mom told me that the lady asked her if she was still dealing with Umar. So I guess she wanted some type of insight, and they didn't have any type of relationship at that time because I was much
Wow.
older.
So she just, randomly, this woman just contacts you, and she says she needs to, which of course you can look up public records on any man and find him. I think that's what content creators online have been doing, to say that he has 3 different kids, mothers, and like 4 to 5 kids. I think they're getting this from public records, so you can look it up. But so they come to your door. She comes to your door. She's trying to get in contact with Umar. Does she mention whether or not he takes? Well, I would assume. Am I to assume that she did that because he wasn't taking care of her children either, and maybe she's trying to contact him to get some support? Or did she say why she was trying to contact him and why she thought your mom would be able to help her
I would
contact
assume
him?
it was probably because Umar wasn't taking care of his other child either. If I had to make an assumption, it would be that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how would you say that you've been directly negatively affected by his absence?
So I think that it's important not only for young women but men as well to have their fathers in their lives, because when you get older and you navigate the world, for example, when you start dating as a young lady, there's certain things that you may not know. Of course, my mom can tell me some things and I'm going to have to experience things for myself,
Yeah.
but if the man that gave birth to you is not even there, it's kind of like, how do you even know or have an expectation? How do you have, or what expectation do you have of other men to treat you if your own father wasn't even there?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that I went through, as well. I went through
Hmm.
that because my, father left our home and left my mother, a married single mother, because of a drug addiction. So he got caught up in the crack epidemic, like a lot of families did. And there was, one situation where, and I've talked about it on here before, where he did drugs in front of me in the car. Like, he just was like, okay, we'll roll down the window. In my mind, from there, which I believe was the moment my daddy issues, I guess you can call them, began. But in my mind, that's the exact conclusion I came to. in my mind, because I was 10 when this happened, I said, okay, why would this man choose his addiction over me? So immediately to me, it was like, oh, he doesn't care about me because he wouldn't be doing this in front of me. Then you have to take that and live with that. That is trauma. So whether you're thinking about it consciously or not, every man that you see, your brain is going to tell you this is not going to be a loving situation, because how
Right.
can he love me and the person who helped to create me didn't even love me enough to either
Exactly.
stay around or enough to not show me that an addiction was above me. So to
Right.
me, that pulls at my heartstrings, because I'm like, okay, this is exactly, I know the mindset because this was my mindset. So then I had a pattern going through life, not being able to emotionally connect to men. So now I'm having this issue where I'm feeling this huge emptiness. There's a huge void. I'm with these men, but I'm not connecting to it. And I
Right.
think that in the black community, we're so focused on exonerating black men that we don't think about the people who have sustained damage as a result of them. And you've sustained damage as a result of this man who had the financial wherewithal to be in your life. There was no systemic issue preventing him, but he just chose to not be there.
Right.
And so I want to ask a question as well, because Umar Johnson, in this same response, he went on a diatribe, and I want to read a tiny bit of it
Okay.
just to switch gears, because it's like it's a heavy thing to talk about. But he says over here that your mother put a false case on him. Is what he's basically saying your mother put a case on him.
Wow.
Because he's saying while he was in Sweden, he wasn't aware. I'll just read it. While I was in Sweden, I was not aware that I was also being accused by my eldest daughter of domestically abusing her mother. So he's denying this. And he's saying, first, I want to state for the record that I have never abused any woman, a fact to which my ancestors can testify. What actually happened was one day during my daughter's early years, I was going to her mother's apartment to visit my child when I noticed before entering that her rear car windows had been broken out. There was glass everywhere, and my first thought was that someone had broken into the car to steal whatever was inside. However, I noticed a note on top of my daughter's baby seat. I reached inside, wiped some of the glass away, and read the note. To my surprise, it was a letter from Mama Smurf's lover, who was threatening to unalive both her and my child for unstated reasons. Although I cannot remember everything he had to say, I do remember that threat and the very aggressive tone of his letter. He didn't mention why he had chosen to vandalize her car, nor why he was threatening their lives. So I have two questions. One, has your mother ever told you about any scenario? He's saying that you witnessed it. Do you remember this ever taking place? And two, do you believe that he is trying to put this story on your stepfather? Because you did mention that you have a stepfather. So do you believe he's writing this, assuming it's not true? Is he doing this to maybe convict your stepfather of also aiding in him not seeing you?
Yes. So for the first question, I would say no. And for the second question, I would say yes. I do believe he's trying to shift the blame and take it off of him and put it on my stepfather. And any claim that he's making on my stepfather is untrue. He doesn't even know him. So I just think he's just doing this to try to cover himself up, honestly.
First, I'm just gonna say this outright. When I first saw this, this is absolutely not the truth. It's clear. Like, dude, are you really? It's like, so now you're gonna basically Me Too the situation and create like this fake scenario where somebody slipped a note, because we all know when bandits are trying to toe tag somebody for leaving them or whatever reason, they not slipping notes.
Exactly.
Who leaving a note in the baby car seat saying, "Yeah, I'm a toe tag you"?
It doesn't make any sense, Cynthia. It makes no sense.
Right. I'm not gonna do it now. But
Oh
on
my
this day and
God.
at that time, I'm gonna come back over here and I'm gonna do this, that, and the third to you. No one's doing that. Like, stop it.
Exactly. Exactly,
It's like,
Cynthia.
just stop it. No one did this. Like, sorry.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
It's awesome. I'm gonna get you, sucker, the note version.
Mhm.
Do really?
Yup.
So this man is asserting that even when your mother clearly was with another man, he was just so great that she just did, like, she seeing past the man that she's with, who's helping to raise her child that he's not helping to raise, presumably, because he
Exactly.
says this is the point at which he's telling this story. This is the point at which you stop allowing him to see your daughter, to see where your mother stopped allowing him to see you. He doesn't say how old you are,
Hmm.
but he does say that you were at a very small age. So it sounds like he's saying that he abandoned you before you even knew that he abandoned you.
Exactly.
Because he's saying it was during my daughter's early years. Well, he did say early. He didn't say how early, so fine.
Hmm.
But definitely he's trying to blame your stepdad. It's like, you know, that did not happen. Don't me too the situation, Umar. Like, all you really had to do is take accountability. And that's the thing. Cause it sounds like all you really wanted is for Umar to just take accountability and actually be a father. And so
Right.
I have to ask you this because many people are asking this. What do you hope to achieve, or what did you hope to achieve by sharing your experience publicly? Like, what did you hope to get out of it?
Yes. So the main two goals, number one was to find my sister, which I have accomplished. The second goal was to have a conversation with him and get all my questions answered, which I did not achieve. Now, what I can say is he did try to bring that forward. He sent me a text message privately and said, I would love you, me, and your mother to sit down and have a conversation so you can have all your questions answered. So that did not get accomplished, unfortunately. But I guess the third thing is to spread more awareness on children who do not have fathers and how to turn it into a positive thing. Because even though he wasn't there, luckily I had a stepfather figure that was there. And so I think that trauma can bring a lot of lessons. And I don't think that it's fair because trauma comes in different forms. And I don't think that anyone should have to go through it. But fortunately, it does allow you to learn more about yourself and it teaches you how to get through situations without someone else there.
Yeah.
Like it kind of isolates you. So you're able to deal with things head first on your own.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we do need to bring awareness to the issue of absentee fathers, especially when when the absentee father is a public figure. I absolutely think we do need to. But to me, I really think the black community is completely okay with black men abandoning their children. And even if we're not okay with it, we're comfortable with it. And the reaction that they've had to this situation shows me that there is a unspoken permission that is given to black men to abandon their children. That's what it seems to be. But Umar Johnson stated that your mother, out of her bitterness, she decided to violate multiple court orders, custody orders. Do you know of any attempt that he has made to take your mother to court to hold her accountable for violating these custody orders?
No, and I'm unsure of what court orders he's talking about because when they had a co-parenting order in place, he stopped showing up. So I'm not sure what court orders he's claiming that my mom violated. That's
Yeah,
probably a
because
lie too.
yeah, well, it probably is, but here we'll go to this because he is saying explicitly that there are multiple court orders that your mother violated, which, I mean, of course, Umar Johnson is claiming that he initially wanted sole custody of you. That's what he's saying. He's saying initially he wanted sole custody of you, but then your mother decided to go to court and fabricate some pictures of abuse, which would actually correspond with what your mother is saying. You said that your mother has made claims that he physically abused her. Umar put in this long diatribe that your mother took images to custody court and created a fictitious story along with your grandmother that accused him of beating on him abusing your mother. He then in here says that your grandmother became belligerent, and I'll read it. As I left family court that day, Grandma Smurf, disappointed in the judge's decision, tried to engage me in a scuffle. As we prepared to clash outside, the family court police stepped in to separate us and pulled me back into the building until the Smurfs had left the area. Did your mother tell you of anything about an altercation at court, or because he's saying this played out when you were here. You were a child already. You were already birthed. They're going to court for custody. He's trying to get full custody of you. Your mother is preventing him from doing so, he's saying.
Yes. So my mom did claim that when him and Umar went to court, that he was very vocal and just he was just acting completely out of character. So I believe that my mom requested that her dad be at the court as well, because the way he was acting was just it was just crazy.
Yeah, because he's asserting that it is your mother who was acting crazy and your grandmother who was acting crazy in court, even saying that because of because he puts here, I couldn't believe it, an entire day filled with conflict and negativity, all because of one woman's lies and hate. If Dr. Umar Ifatunde is guilty of domestic abuse, then I challenge anyone to produce a police report, arrest record, or order of restraint. This is what he's suggesting. Have you seen any of the custody paperwork that Umar is referencing?
No, because I was too young at the time.
Okay, yeah, because he said he had a stack of court papers just in case your mother lies. But what I find interesting here is he's saying that your mother filed false reports on him and took them to court. Are you aware of any restraining order that your mother may have gotten on Umar?
No, but if she was to get any restraining orders on him, I wouldn't be surprised. But to my knowledge, I'm not sure if she has. If she has, no.
Yeah, it sounds like she should have gotten one, because this is what he says here. On the day of the hearing, inside the courtroom, Mama Smurf pulled from her pocketbook approximately 12 Polaroid photos of her body that she claimed contained bruises caused by me. Knowing that I had never put my hands on her, I was certain the photos had been fabricated. When the judge asked me to take a look at the photos, I had immediately informed the judge that these were not bruises, but blotches of makeup and artificial skin color. So he's painting this narrative that your mother has had a history going back to even when he attempted to get custody of you, of sabotaging him with false allegations of abuse. Do you remember at any point any of this, your mother mentioning any attempt, either when she was getting custody or not? Because it sounds like she did what many Black women do, which is not make a report of domestic violence, because this is just known. Even if you go to the National Domestic Violence Hotline website, it notes on there that Black women are the least likely to actually report. They steer clear of this. So it sounds like although your mother needed to, she didn't. But he is suggesting that your mother lied in court in order to prevent him from getting sole custody of you. What do you think about that, especially now given his actual attitudes towards you, the indifference that he's showing, and the lack of connection that he's showing? How does that make you feel while he's also simultaneously asserting that your mother lied to prevent him from getting full custody of you?
Yes. So if anything, if my mom was trying, not, I'm not going to say trying to keep me from him because I already know that that's a lie. But if my mom went to the court and wanted, I guess, them to put an order in place that gave my mom full custody, I wouldn't look down on her because my mom is the one that raised me. I don't understand why he wanted full custody when he wasn't even there. He only got me a couple of times and I was a baby. I was a kid. So even to this day, I haven't had a full conversation with him. I couldn't tell you. I didn't even know that his name was Jermaine. I thought that his name was Umar. I guess that's just his, like, I guess, name for the public, but I didn't even know that his name was Jermaine Shoemaker. That was news to me. Um but I'm not really sure why he wanted full custody because he wasn't even ever really there. And the lies that he's claiming on my mother, yeah, they're lies. My mom never tried to keep me away from him. He just doesn't want to take responsibility.
Why do you think he's so focused on having a discussion, only having a discussion with you when your mother is present? Because I find that strange. Like, you're not a small child, you're
Exactly.
grown. But in Umar's videos and his written statement, he's requesting to have a discussion, but only if your mother is present. Why do you think he's so hyper focused on your mother?
I think he wants her there so that he can try to manipulate the situation, which he can't do because I already know the truth. And like you said, Cynthia, I do agree with you. I'm 22 years old now. I'm not a minor. I'm an adult at this point. So if you wanted to make the effort to be in my life, or if you wanted to have a conversation with me, that should be done with me. I don't know why you keep trying to include my mother in this when she doesn't have anything to do with it. Y'all no longer have a relationship. So what's the point?
Yeah, I'm not willing to believe that a man who I'm not willing to believe that a man who is calling his child a clout chaser, saying that you're basically a gold digger out to misuse or besmirch your father's name, all for money. I'm not willing to believe that that's a person who ever wanted full custody of a child, especially a man who, now it is being said, we already know he had at least two daughters, but there are talks of him having multiple daughters. Have you decided to go out and seek to try and find your other sisters that you're being told that you have? Have
Yes,
you
so
have you
luckily
started
I
looking for
did.
them?
Yes, luckily I did find his other daughter. As stated before, she reached out to me. Well, actually, let me tell you how it happened. So, um, she has a younger brother. The younger brother has another dad, but the same mom. So his dad isn't Umar. He has another dad, but he reached out to me via Instagram and told me that he knows my sister. um well, they know each other obviously because they're siblings, but he then gave me his mother's number and we got on the phone and she said hi. We kind of introduced ourselves. We had a short conversation and she said that she would allow me to speak to the daughter when she got home from school. So luckily I did get in contact with one of the daughters. As far as his other children, I don't know their names. I don't even know if he has other children, but the more I go on the internet, the more I'm starting to like realize maybe he does have other children that I don't know
Right.
about. But if he does, how come he only spoke about me and his younger daughter? Maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't have other children.
Well, the thing is highly likely actually that Umar could have multiple other children out there, because the reality is he's not tied to one woman. He doesn't make it publicly known that he has any children, and he travels around, his primary core base being black women who he knows don't hold black men to any standards or accountable for anything. So the reality is Umar could have a whole slew of children that no one knows about, that not even you. But does
Hmm.
does your mother and your sister know that you came publicly to let it be, to try and find your sister?
I believe that she does know I came public only because her son, which is Umar's daughter's brother, um reached out to me via Instagram. So I'm pretty sure she does know that I went public about it, but she made sure to let me know to please not post any pictures or put her name out there, which I wouldn't do that anyway because it's an invasion of privacy. But yeah.
Yeah. No, her picture doesn't need to be out there, and I do suspect that is one of the reasons that Umar does want her brought to the forefront. I think he wants to weaponize the community against her. I really do. Is she aware of any of what he's saying about her? That she essentially lied on him in court in order to prevent him from seeing you?
So are you talking about his other daughter?
No, your mom. Sorry, I'm sorry. Is your mom aware of any of the things that he's publicly saying about her?
Yes.
What does she think about it? Because I mean, this has to be, at the very least, very disappointing for her.
So she actually came in my room a couple days ago and showed me a live clip of him basically saying that my mom was the bottom of his shoe, she was a piece of dirt, all of these nasty comments. She also she talked to me about a message, which I'm not going to go into detail because
Yeah,
this
of
is
course
private,
not.
but this was a message that he sent her basically claiming that my mom never took care of me. I was taken care of. I was abandoned. It was just a lot of claims and a lot of lies. Like he's very known for lying.
Yeah, that's that's insane. Yeah, no, that's crazy. I saw a video where I thought he was titling it to you, where I think he titled it "You're the scum of the earth" or something. Is that the one you're referring to? Because I know there is one that I saw from his channel that is titled that. I thought he was directing it to you, which either way, even if he's directing it to you or your mother, is just as deplorable.
Exactly.
Bottom line. But I'm assuming that's the video. If you could say anything to Umar now, if you wanted one message for him to get, what would it be?
If I was being 100% honest, I would say that I'm disappointed in not only the lies and accusations that you have made that are false, but also the response that you gave to me publicly. I am supposed to be your daughter. I'm supposed to be the person that you protect and take care of, but instead you get on the internet and you make not only false accusations, but it's just the vocabulary that you're using. The mama smurf, the daughter smurf. It's childish to me. So disappointment is what I would. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah,
And
like
I also I'm very, and it's funny. A lot of people say that me and Umar, and I'm not going to like. Yes, he is my father, but if I want to call him Umar and not my father, I have the right of doing that because he hasn't been there. I have a father that's in my life, so I'm very vocal. A lot of people say that we have very similar personalities. I'm very outspoken, and I even told him, I sent him a voice message and said, I'm disappointed in how you responded to me on social media, and I don't like the accusations that you're making. So I responded to him and I told him this, um of course not face to face but over the phone, so he knows how I feel.
yeah, the whole thing is incredibly disappointing. I would, especially the language that he's using. I would think that at the very least he would agree that you are old in a discussion. Um, you did say in one of the videos that you made, you said that he had reached out and scheduled to set up to talk to you and him. Did he just decide he didn't want to do that discussion either? He just never showed?
So yeah, he pretty much stopped responding after he sent me that message.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I look, I just want to say this. I am so sorry. I am. I feel for you. Um I can relate to the absentee father part, but what I can't relate to is an absentee father taking to social media to publicly disparage me. So I don't understand how that feels, but I can still put myself in the position of if it had happened to me. And I know it has to be hurtful. It has to be very disappointing. I'm pretty sure in your mind, you can't possibly have positive thoughts for him. This would obviously also have to be very confusing. Why does he have so much disdain for you? You did nothing to him, except exist. And
Yeah.
then for me to sit here and see, the evidence of Umar being your father all over your face, I don't get it. Like, there's no way Umar can look at you and not see himself. There's no way he can do it, because everyone who looks at you sees Umar. You are his genetic legacy at the end of the day, and he has chosen to turn his back on his genetic legacy, all the while going through the community and pretending that he cares about the black genetic legacy. Umar's primary base is black women. So my last question is this. Given that Umar's primary base is black women, he's abandoned and disparaged you, a black woman, and your mother. He has called you a clout chaser and said you're out for a money grab. Do you think that Umar Johnson is the one out for a money grab of black women?
Oh, I really don't know how to answer this question. So what I will say too is, because I did see the comments of him calling me a clout chaser, but not only that, he said that I was in it for a money grab. But my response to that was because there were a lot of people reaching out to me to do interviews, a lot of like big people with platforms and things like that. And the only thing I said is that if I'm coming to someone's platform to talk about something, especially this situation, my response to that was, I don't think that it would be fair for me to do it for free, only because they're profiting off of this story. So
Yeah, don't
that
do
was my
anything for
response
free.
to that. And I know your question was, do I think that Umar is being a money, or is doing a money grab? You said for black women.
Do you think he's exploiting black women for money?
I do think so. Yes.
I think he is too. Absolutely. To me, to me, it's blatantly clear that Umar Johnson does not respect black women. You're a black woman. You're his daughter. If you're not going to respect your daughter, if you can't have grace for your daughter, if you would title a video and try to tell your daughter or her mother that either one of them is the scum of the earth, you do not like black women. He does not. And more than anything, I think that's what you exposed. I really think that even if you weren't trying to, I think you exposed how Umar actually feels about black women. It just is what it is. Absolutely do not do anything for free. Don't do any interviews for free, because they do. This is why I would never approach you asking you to do a free interview. It's insulting. The bottom line is they are out to make money, and they want to make money off of you without giving you money. And it's like, absolutely not. Umar, as far as I'm concerned, he owes you money. He needs not open his mouth and talk about a money grab towards his child. It's like, you owe her. So write the check, because you owe her. It's like you shouldn't even, Omar should be throwing money at you, as far as I'm concerned. But I'll let you close it out. It's your time. The floor is yours. I'll let you close it out. If you want to, you can allow people in the chat box to ask additional questions, but it is up to you, because it is your time.
Yes, so I will repeat what I had said in the beginning. Cynthia had asked me to introduce myself. So my name is Anisa. I'm 22. I'm from Philadelphia. And as far as what I do, I'm a content creator and comedian. I do make content on Instagram and TikTok. My Instagram is Nisa the Goat, Nisa
Here,
Da.
I'll throw it in the chat box for you.
Okay.
So that somebody can,
That's my Instagram and my TikTok. If anyone wants to ask any questions in the chat box, I'll let Cynthia tell me the questions. So yeah, you guys can ask
yeah,
away.
I'll definitely give them I'll give them, if you have 10 to 15 minutes of time, I'll give them that to ask questions, because to be honest, I gotta go soon too. But let me drop this in the. Let me drop your handle in the chat box, and then I'll pull some questions that people may want to ask. So I'm gonna put your Instagram on there. Hang on a minute. I'm gonna pin it.
Someone said, "Do you have a YouTube, Rumble, or Twitch channel?" My YouTube is actually linked in my Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, there's a link tree in the bio, and when you click there, it'll take you to all of my other platforms: TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, etc.
Okay, so I put, and I also pinned her Instagram in there as well. Your TikTok is the same as your Instagram, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let me grab some questions and see. Okay, so Reese wants to know, how did you feel about all the disrespect from Tommy's channel? Do you see all of the disrespect from black men online? That's
Yes.
assuming you've seen it.
Yes. I actually went live when Tommy he went live on Twitter and he had about 2,000 viewers, and I was commenting and he asked if I could come up, and I did. And like I said, I was on Instagram live, so this is proven. You guys can go on my page and see it. But he was calling me all different types of bees. He was calling me out of my name. And if anything, I think Tommy is a clout chaser, and I think he's doing this for a money grab because he had his Cash App on the screen while talking about, the situation. So I do think he's a clout chaser, and I don't really know what exactly Tommy does. I don't know if he's an activist similar to Umar or if he's a content creator, but the disrespect was completely uncalled for because I didn't disrespect him.
A lot of people are disrespectful, and they're gonna be, because they, again, Umar is like, a lot of people had a problem with me for talking about Umar, because they're saying, okay, well, Umar is the black leader that we have who love black women, even though he don't. So people are gonna be negative because you're picking a side, and they're
Mhm.
picking Umar's side because that's who they're familiar with. But it's Umar's fault that we just found out who you are, because Umar should have been had you in the forefront. And like I said, Umar should have had you going on his speaking engagement with him. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't. But another question is everything okay between you and your sister? You two were arguing on a live and you sounded really hurt, sending you love.
Yes. So let me think. How do I want to explain this? So unfortunately, if you were on the TikTok live, you would have heard the commotion and what we were arguing about. So my sister actually called me a clout chaser for getting on the internet and trying to find my dad, which I thought was very heartless because you have your dad in your life. Her dad, which I claim is my stepfather, has been in my life, but at the end of the day, that's not the man who gave birth to me. You know what I'm saying? So even though he was there, which I appreciate, I still want my dad in my life, my biological father. So that
Yeah,
was the argument.
and everyone should be able to understand that you will want to know that's not unreasonable. The bottom line is, it doesn't matter who raised you. Umar, you have Umar's DNA. His blood is going through your veins, so it's like, obviously you're gonna want to know, where you're gonna want to know about him. I think it's foul that people are actually questioning why you will want attention from your father,
And
like
what
to
hurts
try
me
to act
even
like you're doing something wrong.
Yes, and what hurts a lot is the fact that a lot of people was asking me to prove it, to prove that he's my dad, probably because he's this big figure. Um, my mom did get a DNA test, but that's not something that I want to put on the internet because that's kind of private. But I did post a picture on my Instagram of me and my dad. He was holding me as a child. Um, Umar's last name is Abdullah. So his name, to my knowledge, is Umar Abdullah Johnson. So he has two last names, but I only acquired Abdullah. I don't have the name Johnson. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating that a lot of people are asking me to prove it, which I can see why, but there's nothing to prove now.
To me, your face is proof enough. Like to me, you look like him, like heavily. So I don't. People sometimes the black community irks me because why are you asking for proof of something that happens most of the time in the community? Most of the time,
Exactly.
there is a black man who is fathering a child, be it male or female, and most of the time they're abandoning that child. It just is what it is. But someone wants to know if you think your dad has ever been with a white woman, and I'll combine it with somebody else's comment. They wanted to know, is Umar really a closet colorist? Because he talks about dark chocolate black women, but you're lighter. So that's what they're wanting to know. Is he really lying about liking dark skinned women? Essentially, is he really hiding a white or light skinned woman?
So to the first question, I'm not sure if he's ever dated a white woman. I would assume no, because the comments that he makes and the things that he says regarding interracial relationships, he is very against black men or black women being with white men or women. So I would say probably not. And for the second question, as far as the whole colorist thing, I'm not sure. And I did hear a lot of people say, how can this be his daughter when she's so light? I would consider myself to be brown. And also when it comes to genes, two dark skinned people can make a lighter child. So it's just, it's genes. It's all
Yeah,
genes.
the reason they're saying that is because Umar promotes only desiring like really really dark skinned women. This is what he promotes. And then when they're seeing you, they're like, okay, well her phenotype doesn't match you liking dark skinned women. So they just think it's another thing that he's lying about being a colorist. But I wanted Sabrina wants to know, is there anything that Umar can do to reestablish a relationship with you?
The first thing would be to answer the questions that I have, because I do have a lot of questions for him. And after those questions are answered, if we're able to have some type of conversation, um, on a consistent basis, I think that would be a great start to establishing a relationship. I was told to not do interviews because it would possibly, um, what's the word? If he was to see this, he would probably think that I would be trying to hurt him publicly when I'm just answering questions. Um, so I'm not really too fond of establishing a relationship with him, because it's like I'm 22 now. I already have a lot of people in my life who are supportive. But if that's something that he would want to do, I would be open to it. But it's like I've already reached out, I've already done my part. So now I feel like he needs to do his.
Yeah, I think that bridge does need to be gapped by Umar. He is the one who's behaving like a petulant child right now. So, and he's the parent in the situation. So he needs to initiate that. But I do think it is good that you still have it open for him to have a relationship, because it really, to me, that's what it sounds like you want. It's no problem to me if you want money, but to me it sounds more like you would actually like to have a relationship with your biological father, which is completely normal. Who wouldn't? I probably would have loved to have one with mine if he wasn't drowning in a drug addiction. So I mean, it's normal. But so I'll take two more questions because it's already 10 minutes after. So Hutu and Mama said, Umar has multiple sisters. Have your aunts ever reached out to you?
One of my aunts, I think, reached out to me via Instagram DM, but I didn't get the chance to respond. And I also wonder, how many sisters does he have? I'm not sure.
Do they know about what's going on now?
Probably.
Okay, but has any of them said anything, like reached out and been like, okay, well, you're doing this because this, that, and the third? Because we know black women are the greatest defenders of black men. We just know this.
I believe that one of his sisters did give me some words of encouragement. She was just like, step away from social media when you need to. And she was like, I'm always here if you need me. And I think she gave me her number. So yeah, she reached out.
Oh yeah, that's sweet. I'm glad. And there was someone in the chat box also who wanted you to know. I'm remembering the comment. I accidentally moved it. and I didn't mean to. That person wanted you to know that you're beautiful and smart and you are supported, and you absolutely 100% are. And I think ultimately, I think even though this is like the height of it where, you know, you're trying to tell your story, Umar's throwing a tantrum, I do think that you'll have a good resolution with him. I do. I think eventually you will. Somebody, the Hello Kitty said, "Do you remember your interactions with Umar before he stopped coming around?"
So, when I was younger, I do remember him being very strict. I remember, I think I had came home from school and he was like, "You can't watch TV until you're done your homework." Your homework. Like I just remember him being very stern and very, very, very strict.
Yeah. I mean, but that's good though, that he would have been there to provide the some structure and discipline through the structure. So that's good, and it's good that you did have some memories of him being a father. It's just, I think, unfortunate, you know, that you weren't allowed to have the full benefit of him as a father. But we have 2 more minutes. I don't know if we have time for one more question. I was gonna try to pull out one more question, but I don't know if there is one. Yeah, I don't see any. I don't think I do.
Oh, they're they're inquiring about my TikTok. Yes, the original account was banned, but I
Yeah,
do have a new
TikTok
account.
is too censoring to me.
Yes.
Um, you should start a YouTube channel though. I think you should definitely start a YouTube, and I think ultimately Umar needs to be the one to help to propel your YouTube channel where it needs to go. Like he should be doing that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
how are you gonna be basically one of the most popular people in the black community right now, and you're not putting like in, and your daughter's not at the forefront? Like this just strange to me. It's like I don't understand why he wouldn't want to propel you to the forefront. Like
Mm-hmm.
Umar should be proud that you're his daughter. If in my opinion, he should be proud. Like
Exactly.
whether he raised you or not, seems like you turned out very well adjusted, very intelligent, extremely articulate, and you know how to. It seems like you're very adaptable too. You probably know how to turn it off and on depending on the environment. So I would think he would be proud and happy, you know, and it doesn't. I will say this. The screenshots that he's shown, when he addresses you to you, it does seem like that he has some affection towards you, but the way that he's parading around on social media is complete trash. I don't think that he doesn't care about you. I think he's being a petulant child. I think he thinks that his empire or whatever he established, I think he sees the potential for it crumbling, and I think he's responding to what the potential fallout could be. But regardless, the way that he's reacting is inappropriate. He needs to get off of social media and have a discussion with you, because that's what he owes you. And hopefully he'll do that. Hopefully you'll be able to, you know, you'll be able to have a relationship with him and build a relationship in the future. Hopefully he'll get off whatever he's on and start acting like a father. Hopefully, 'cause this is not it. But yeah, I'll
Oh
let you say
gosh.
well your last word, and then we'll leave it there.
Yes, so Cynthia, it was very amazing meeting you. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. Again, if you would like to see more of me, my Instagram, TikTok, and all of my other social media platforms, Cynthia did pin on the screen. And yeah, this was a great interview. This was
Yeah,
great.
no, definitely. Thank you for coming. And I just wanted you to be able to tell your side of the story, because I see he has the platform for it. So you need to be able to tell your story as well, and for it to get out. And even if there's anything in the future that you want to come out and talk about, feel free to let me know. And definitely, the platform is here for you. We do support you here, And we have no problem rallying around you in support and love and understanding, because we definitely get it. And quiet as this kept, a lot of the people who are criticizing you, they understand it too, because they probably lived it, because this is a epidemic in our community. And so thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I wish you the best, and I wish you and your relationship with Umar the best as well. Y'all go follow her on Instagram and on TikTok as well. I don't think that this is the last that we'll hear from you. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Because
Oh God.
you have a big, vibrant personality, and I do think it should be shared with the world. It should.
Thank you, Cynthia.
All right, bye.
Bye.